those were the #1 songs on the 18th of May 1981. But we'll firstly get on with Zane Kane. Someone put in my comments yesterday, could I give more details about Zane Kane, who was Chili's mate, you may remember. And so that's what we're going to do. And then we're going to have a quick look at Fraudit Wrangler. Right, Zane Kane. So, he made the Maricopa.com on the 6th of September concerning an arrest that he'd had in April. I put up his mugshot, I think, yesterday, but this is a story. I might as well read it out to you. Oh, that's a bit. Raising Kane, a world record holding monsieur, declares war on Maricopa police. Right, and that's a good picture of him with his sunglasses on. Before I start reading it, I do want to check that somehow the stream is coming through okay and it looks okay. Right. Frogger was one of my favourite Atari games. Thanks, Vlad. I thought you were going to say I was one of your favourite channels and you've now decided to leave me because I have a bit of moral fibre. Anyhow, here we go. Well, not you, Vlad, but who knows. So, this is the article. Maricopa City Hall recreated a scene from the original Batman movie on that balmy mid-August afternoon. But holding Bruce Wayne's awkward dinner with Vicky Vale at a gapingly long banquet table, here's Police Chief Mark Goodman and Assistant City Manager Jennifer Brown locked in a yet more uncomfortable standoff with perhaps one of Maricopa's most fascinating characters. There's no meeting scheduled inside that conference room, unmeant for such drama. Yet there the dignitaries sit as the dull glow of fluorescent bulbs bounces off the table's glass expanse. This is a lot better than reading a legal document. Tension widens the yawning gulf between the bureaucrats and Zane Kane, who perches himself and his video camera at the far end of the sprawling table. He doesn't remove his signatured sunglasses. This is the worst town, he says. The worst town with the worst police force I've ever seen. It's a fall from grace for the world record holder Messrs, who says his life and dreams were marred by Maricopa's power-drunk police cadre. But he perseveres. The whole thing seems very Nazi Germany. The man behind the sunglasses. On a self-guided tour of City Hall, August 14, Kane confronted and lobbed insults at a half dozen city staffers. He posted the video to his YouTube channel a day later. I'll come on to that in a sec. Kane takes credit for starting the trend of First Amendment auditing. Read that again. Kane takes credit for starting the trend of First Amendment auditing. It's the practice of filming public officials at work with various levels of antagonism in search of a gotcha moment. These moments can quickly go viral. I could make money all day, Kane told in Maricopa. He dreams of being like Christopher Ruff. Well, that's someone who I don't dream about being. The cop watcher based in nearby Gilbert, who experts say can generate more than $150,000 per month, broadcasting to his 65 million viewers. Slight error in the press there. Maybe he's got 65 million views to date. I don't know. And I don't think his channel brings in that amount of money. Although he's probably doing quite nicely out of it. But right, Kane's recent encounter doesn't get any views on his YouTube channel named Overturn Terry v. Ohio. Now, and I said I'd come onto the YouTube channel, I can't find such YouTube channel. I know of Zane Kane's old YouTube channel when he talks about being a masseuse, but if anyone has a link to the YouTube channel for Zane Kane where he put this encounter, I'd be very grateful. The channel's name is a hallmark of sovereign citizen ideology, as described by the Arizona Counterterrorism Information Center. It's a callback to the 1968 Supreme Court decision deeming it constitutional for cops to stop and frisk people. Chile, deeming it constitutional. Kane doesn't consider himself a sovereign citizen, but he bears its calling cards. Sovereign citizens almost never consider themselves as such, experts say. The loose ideology centres around one core belief. Laws challenged in cases like Terry v. Ohio don't apply to them. Well, a classic sovereign citizen believes no laws really apply to them, so that's slightly wrong, I think. It's an anti-government brand of restorationism that metastasized. It's easier for me to say it when I'm not looking at it online and grasps the nation. A Connecticut man who decapitated his landlord with a sword declared himself sovereign August 8th. The same day, a woman claiming sovereignty in North Carolina was charged with terrorising a neighbourhood and burning disturbing items in a witch's cauldron. But experts tell, in Maricopa, modern sovereign citizen ideology has strong roots in Pinal County. I probably said that wrong. In Maricopa, staff spotted at least 3 counterfeit licence plates in town one recent weekend. Well, that's a lot. Doesn't sound that very much at all to me. But each displaying sovereign citizen slogans like, not for hire. The seed is first planted when frustration boils over speeding tickets or lofty child support payments, experts say. Such disregard for the law can quickly spiral towards life behind bars. Just ask Kane, whose girlfriend faces more than a century in prison. Facing serious time, Tunisia Nelson, 45, had no criminal record before she and Kane were arrested at their home on West Cahill Drive in April. Charges of burglary, resisting arrest, trespass and disorderly conduct lodged against Kane were later dropped, but not before he was tortured and maimed, he says. Nelson, why hasn't Chile filed a lawsuit for this? Nelson wasn't so lucky. This month she'll face 10 felony charges of child abuse, aggravated assault with a deadly weapon, recklessly handing deadly weapons, and assault with intent to injure in Pinal County Superior Court. I don't think it's 10 felony charges, but maybe we'll check that in a bit. Under Arizona law, she could be sentenced to as many as 168 years in prison, but it's doubtful that she will be. They kidnapped me, Nelson told in Maricopa of her arrest. Her choice of words is another telltale sign of the sovereign citizen mind. Similarly, Kane called the jail a dungeon and referred to cops as some strangers wearing police badges. Sovereign citizen ideology battens on the altruism of police, anything to undermine the legitimacy of the law. Nelson, a behavioural health worker from Harlem in New York City, says she was falsely arrested in a racist campaign by Maricopa police. I mean, I have no idea why Chile hasn't got hold of this. Because I'm a black woman. I mean, he'd love it. She's accused of threatening to shoot her children. Only thing they was telling me is, you should have died, black lady with locks. Die, bitch, Nelson said. My life doesn't matter, she said through tears. Thank you, Maricopa, for letting me know that. I know if I was a white woman, it would not have went down the way it was. All they see is my little black arse. Nelson spent her life savings on her Rancho El Dorado home and closed in January. It's the worst decision she's ever made, she said. I'm assuming that Cahill Drive is the home. I don't know. Maybe Kane is Zane Kane is shacking up there. Dire accusations. Kane's version of events is somehow more harrowing. Who would believe it that Zane Kane would have a more harrowing event? When Maricopa police officers found him in the Bassas parking lot on John Wayne Parkway, he allegedly refused their orders. Nothing new, he bragged about refusing to pull over for Phoenix police in a 2014 arrest, saying he never signed a contract with them. More sovereign citizen fodder. But in the Bashas parking lot, Kane said he feared for his life. I literally thought this guy was going to kill me, he said of the arresting officer. I thought he was going to pull me over and shoot me. It's interesting that he can drive with such bad eye injury. Wood splinters slashed Kane's eye into 4 pieces. Maybe it's just one, although he does shut both when he's having his photo taken. The world record setter turned police agitator never takes off his signature mirror glasses, apart from when... Is it here? Hang on, let me see. Is it that one? Get up. Apart from in a police lineup photo, I suppose. Maybe it's the left eye and the right eye is slightly open. I'll give him that. I don't want to say it didn't happen. Well, I don't know that it didn't happen. Right. Back to the article. I literally thought this guy was going to kill me, he said of the arresting officer. I thought he was going to pull over and shoot me. Kane says the officer tortured him. The guy was beating me with a baton, he said. I'm burning. I'm screaming. I'm crying. I'm crying. And crying. And crying. And kicking and screaming. When he arrived at the Pinal County Jail in Florence, corrections officers continued to torture him, he claims. They violently ripped my clothes off. I was naked, peeing on the floor. I was sitting in my own pee, standing in my own pee. He said his hands and arms were permanently crippled during the beating. There must be a lawsuit surrounding this, surely. Criminal needs. Criminal needs? Criminal needs? You need bread? That's a problem for Kane, who's a licensed... I don't know. Is he talking about needing massaging? I don't know. That's a problem for Kane, who's a licensed massage therapist. In 2007, he appeared in the Guinness Book of World Records after performing the longest massage ever in Scottsdale at 6 hours straight. In 2015, the Arizona State Board of Massage Therapy placed Kane on probation for 2 years after his anti-government antics led to arrests for endangerment and resisting arrest, state records show. The city of Maricopa denies ending his massage career. It denies all other allegations related to the April episode. Both Nelson and Kane were lawfully arrested, city spokesman Brandon Lavornag said. No evidence exists of excessive force being used in those arrests. Goodman, the police chief, said his officers sometimes, I have contact with individuals who identify themselves as sovereign citizens, but he told in Maricopa, it is our policy and my expectation that everyone we come in contact with will be treated with dignity and respect. Respect is something Kane says was never extended. Maricopa cops booked him under his birth name, Stephen Kanowski. The 52-year-old legally challenged his name back in 1997. He said he associates the name with childhood abuse he suffered. I've never seen a more F.U. attitude in a civilian, he said. But that's coming from the man who in the same interview said registering his car with the Arizona Motor Vehicle Division and paying for a driver's license is an illegal extortion fee. Like Nazi Germany, it's still papers, he said. It's a plastic rectangular card, but does that change it? It's the same premise. That warped worldview led to multiple arrests for failing to carry license and registration, court records show. Kane said he had been arrested 26 times in Maricopa, Sun Lakes, Phoenix, Scottsdale and Glendale. Some were drugs charges, according to Maricopa County Superior Records. I'm not going to run down the rap sheet, but you can see it there on the right. Well, you probably have to pause it and zoom in. Ground Zero. There was no license plate on Kane's car when he came to the Maricopa office for an interview August 14. Maricopa Police Department has notes in its system Kane is anti-police, a First Amendment auditor and a sovereign citizen. The sovereign citizen movement is on the rise in Arizona and nationally, according to the Southern Poverty Law Center. Its disciples only recognize the county sheriff as a law enforcement authority, and expert observers say Pinal County is ground zero for the ideology. When you run into these soft-sit guys, they might not recognise the authority of police, Pinal County Sheriff Mark Lamb told him in Maricopa. But they recognise the authority of the sheriff. Sovereigns may be empowered to vaunt their iconoclasm in Maricopa, perhaps because Lamb, the current Republican frontrunner for US Senate in Arizona next year, is a self-styled constitutional sheriff, some speculate. According to the Anti-Defamation League, a national civil rights group, the constitutional sheriff's central tenet is borrowed from the anti-government extremist sovereign citizen movement. Lamb refutes this, however. I never heard of that coming from the soft-sit movement, he said. Our allegiance comes from the oath we take, not the sovereign citizens. But he gave the movement's acolytes a subtle nod. Everybody has a little truth, the sheriff said. Some more than others. Sometimes people go overboard. Jessica Pisco, a senior counsel at the Justice Collaborative in Dallas who researched constitutional sheriffs, met Lamb on a shooting range near Maricopa several years ago. When the twosome made a pit stop at a convenience store, it was like paparazzi swarm, she said. Mark Lamb wields an extraordinary amount of influence, Pisco told in Maricopa. Pinal County doesn't set policy for Arizona. Sovereign citizens are this angry, righteous, dissatisfied minority that uses the sheriff to gain a disproportionate route. I'm not sure this is all going into sovereign citizen stuff and away from Kane. Zoom down. So let's start here. And therein lies the problem for so many like Kane. Court records show his daughter's mother filed an aggressive injunction of harassment against him in Maricopa County Superior Court in 2002. What followed was a brutal custody battle where Kane was subject to mental health evaluation and nearly 60 drug tests. The family court case dragged on for nearly a decade. Shortly after, a Maricopa County judge ordered Kane to pay thousands in a civil lawsuit. All the while he racked up arrests around Greater Phoenix. With each bite of a steel handcuff and every shuddering stroke of the gavel, he became more traumatised, he said. More paranoid to leave his house and more afraid of the justice system from top to bottom. And likely he inched closer to sovereign citizen ideas every time. The ideas that may put his partner in prison for the rest of her life. Experts say sovereign citizen ideology starts as a seed. Some flowers ought not to bloom. So that was the article on Kane. Right. I did mention this yesterday. I did a screenshot from this. I actually haven't checked it to make sure. Let's move it over a bit to make sure it's come on. Editor. I've got the wrong window. There we go. Right. I haven't checked that then. Well, if there's something privacy in here, I don't know. But this was his case. Ended up with 2 charges: burglary, second degree, disorderly conduct, fighting. it was disposed on the 16th of June. So he got away with it. Someone said, has he given evidence against the girlfriend? Well, who knows? Right. I'll just go into her case. QVE. Get that capture done. Alright. So her name was Nelson. And I've forgotten what that first name was. Right at the top here. Sorry, bear with me while I find this first name. We could be talking about what was number one on the 18th of May 1981. I don't know why that date is in my head at the moment. So it's this case. And these are charges. Now, I'd be uncertain that some of these lower charges are, I mean, the disorderly conduct, weapon, instrument, I doubt it's a felony. I haven't looked it up. But she is still facing, so the last entry on her case was on the 7th of September. So her case is still open. So who knows whether or not she is going to be convicted of that, and how many she's done. Well, we know she's not going to get 168 years or whatever it said. Right, let me check the chat. Oh, bugger. I should have looked earlier. Can you hear me now? I do apologise. I'm sorting out this mic, and I've got to get the levels right. And I've got to get the Frog, stop doxing. What doxing am I doing, Fraudit Wrangler? I'm talking about number ones on the 18th of May 1981. What doxing am I doing? And you're probably a fake Fraudit Wrangler, so okay, you can hear me fine. I did up it a bit, so good. Okay, right. Now, for the other event of the day, and I need to sort out my windows. I did just look at what you're all saying in chat. So, and I'll come back to chat when we've just done this. I've got to get the right one, so excuse me, because one is not right, let's take the zoom down a bit. That might be good. One more. That might be better. Drag you over a bit. There we go. Right. You don't really need to be able to see it. Okay. So today, I thought I'd just update myself on the state of Kaiser's criminal case. And I'm probably louder now because I'm not looking and reading. And so I got into the case and downloaded the case because I was looking to see what the status of the case was. I want to keep updated with this case because at some point it's going to go to, well, I say it's going to go to trial, considering he's admitted all these offences online. I would think the prosecution have quite a strong case against him. So good luck with the defence, mate, and good luck with a good deal, because I think it's, you know, because you've admitted it, how are you going to take that back? Although you lie all the time, so the prosecutor possibly would have to, you know, that would be, you know, you're all, well, it's just another lie, you could say, but quite hard to take back an admission online. Now, So I just looked at the case. There's nothing's happened on the case. So that wasn't the interesting bit. What the interesting bit was that up in the top right hand corner, you may see prepared for, there's today's date. And on the documents that Welsh News Network, Dan provided, this was all white up here. But I've used the same system, so bear that in mind. So there was some editing of the documents up here, some obvious editing that, well, I say obvious, wasn't obvious to people who would have watched his video, but is obvious once you've got an actual Alabama court system document. Now, the problem with Alabama is it's all behind a paywall. And so that's, we don't go behind paywalls very often. Otherwise, I'd have to ask for donations, and I don't want to do that. Anyhow, we come down here to the defendant information. And on the one that Dan of Welsh News Network did, there were all little X's where alongside address 1, apart from one number, I think, right at the start. The city, all little X's. And the date of birth, little X's, where the day would be. So, of course, everyone assumed that it's an incorrect assumption, but everyone assumed that the date of birth wasn't on the court case, wasn't available to the public. But I have to say that the date of birth has been available to the public behind that paywall since Dan did his expose, and Dan of Welsh News Network. And in all probability, he had the date. So he did his expose on the 16th of July. Since the 16th of July, people have been trying to get the military records, military information about Kaiser. Because, like Dan, he has stories that don't sound true. And he appears that he's not telling the truth, and he's grifting off not telling the truth. Oops, I didn't mean, sorry, I'll move my mouse there. But Dan chose not to tell anyone, or not to tell anyone who would tell the general public, who would then enable the truth to get out quicker about Fraudit Wrangler, so that his grift could be stopped. We can only surmise as to why Welsh News, well, we can probably more than surmise, but I'm not going to say why Welsh News Network didn't want the date out. But the date is out now. The military people, well, the military vets, the date from the criminal records is in their possession now that are looking at Michael Kaiser. So the walls are closing, Michael. The walls are closing in. I don't know. If I was you, I'd probably scrub everything from YouTube, because God knows what crimes you've committed. Who knows who's looking at you? State, federal, who knows? You've upset a lot of people. And they're going to be coming for you. And I've said this before. Those that are enabling this, that are possibly receiving payments from Michael, could come and get you, could come and grab you. So, I mean, I'm not going to tell you not to watch Fraudit Wrangler. I mean, to be honest, I've been watching more of his stuff recently than I ever watched before, just from the point of view of listening to his bullshit. He's a very hard watch. Perhaps I ought to. I must get the chat up, because I am going to, and I apologise for this being a rather long stream, because I'm going to do a Fraudit Wrangler. Carla, you're welcome, ma'am. Grey Knight 777. Hi, brother. Surrender Monkey. Hi, brother. YBI, no idea of your success. What's going on there? I'm watching the start of my screen. Oh, I do hate this live streaming. All I can see is Adam and the Ant, who was, if you remember, 1981 on the 18th of May, 1981. Anyhow, sorry. Biff Thunder Muffin. No stolen valor. Well, I mean, in my view, there is stolen valor, probable stolen valor, because he has claimed military accomplishments that he probably hasn't done. Frog is scared to let me on the stream every time. Well, I don't do panel streams, so why would I? Bass Horseman, yes. Hi Sir Bass. Savage Dabs. I saw Alex. Hey, ma'am. Glad you could join us. I got some of these lines from Wrangler. Tom Peters, I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you stuck with us. I'm glad you didn't listen to all that bullshit that others are telling about me. I'm doing randoms, so I'm not going to do everyone. Osin, again, don't know if you're male or female, so welcome. I can't say sir or madam, but you're very welcome to be here. I hope you stick around. We're glad to have you. Goddess of Truth, thank you for your 4 months membership. It's really appreciated. Glad you stuck around. Darren Lacey, I don't know if I mentioned you, but good to have you here, sir. Great to have you here. Burballs, a Big Bear. I'm going to assume you're a sir. My brother. Great to have you here, my brother. I don't see my brother. Oh, there. Is this Kafar? Is that a real Kafar or a fake Kafar? I mean, Kafar's as deep into this as anyone else. Kafar, you should be ashamed. You should be ashamed. I mean, I'm now those channels that helped Fraudit Wrangler grow his channel, who have now distanced themselves from him, but they haven't distanced themselves from him publicly. They've just distanced themselves from him. Perhaps you ought to tell your subscribers. Perhaps you ought to tell your subscribers about his criminal record. Let's have a look at that. I didn't actually. I'm going back to the case because we ought to leave those charges up there. Just so, you know, I'm not going to go through them. We know there's 5 felonies. But just so that it can be remembered. What he's currently hasn't pled to yet. He said he's guilty online. Hopefully, well, I say hopefully. I don't know, there's probably a snitch amongst the people who are watching him who's going to, you know, inform the prosecutor about the various times in his streams where he's admitted to these offences. Kimmy. Hi, man. Or should I say, hi, Wrangler's right hand. Because that's what Kimmy is. Kimmy is not a person. Kimmy does not exist. It's an elaborate con. An elaborate con. I mean, it's got some big people in here in the so-called community. I think it's interesting that the site would go down and Frog is covering the article. I've missed that. I've missed something there. I thought it was quite. I don't know what you thought about the article. I thought it was quite funny. I hope you thought it was quite funny. I'm going to end there. I'm sorry if you weren't in my mams or sirs, but you're all in my mams and sirs, and I can't say it with a southern drawl. He even brought in religion. You know, he tries to make us think that he is of faith, of the Christian faith. He was comparing himself. He did some analogy with a Roman soldier hammering the nails into Christ yesterday. He is a classic. He is a classic fraud. But if you want to send him your money, send him your money. Send away. Send away. Because I'm going to say at this point, you can't fix stupid. So if you're sending him your money, you're not fixable. or you're so one-sided and blinded that you can't see the truth. Right, thanks for joining me. I'll catch you another time. Maybe we'll get some arrests. We haven't had any arrests for a couple of days. But we're not having an arrest. I did this today. I wanted to see what the current case of his case was, and we just stumbled across information that I didn't expect to stumble across. But it's going to give those the military guys who are looking at him. I know some don't like Stoned Vet because he's stoned. But at least he's honest and on his stream, and he streams stoned. But he does seem to have achieved quite a lot militarily, and Wranglers in his sights. There's also a medic called Tats, who you'll find on YouTube. I may link him in the description of this afterwards. There's one or two people who are doing more detailed looks at Wrangler. Obviously, you've got Coded, Friends or NTFG looking at him. Merb has weighed in. So it's going to get him. It's going to get him eventually, but he's going to continue the grift for as long as he can, because let's face it, he can't get a job anywhere else. I mean, or maybe he just doesn't want to go and flip burgers or something. Not saying there's anything wrong with flipping burgers if that's all you can do. I don't want to denigrate people there. And if it was me and I couldn't get a job elsewhere, I probably would go and flip burgers, because you do what you need to do. You don't ask other people for money by conning them out of their money. Thanks for watching. Good night.